Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mastering Success podcast, where we dive deep into the mindset, the strategies, and the habits of high achievers. I'm your host, Jeremy Sanford, keynote speaker, business growth consultant. And what we want to do is today, we want to help you to unlock your full potential. Each week, we bring you powerful conversations with experts and leaders, game changers who have mastered success in their relative fields. And so last week, our podcast, it featured Dr. Cleo Amelia, a leader of functional medicine, and we discussed the importance of investing into your health. We unpacked the powerful revelation that success is limited if you don't invest into your body. And more importantly, Dr. Amelia reminded us that your health is your greatest asset. So invest into it wisely. But today, ladies and gentlemen, on the Mastering Success podcast, we have a certified heavyweight in the world of business, finance, and leadership. This man has been moving and shaking at the highest levels. He was a former regional administrator for the SBA, a two-time presidential appointee, and he has overseen billions in funding for small businesses. He is a powerhouse entrepreneur, a top-tier strategist, and a connector of people, bridging the gap between government and business like very few can. And so when it comes to securing the bag, scaling businesses and navigating the world of economic development, he is that guy. From boardrooms to big stages, he's worked with presidents, top executives, and business owners alike, helping him to achieve success at its highest level. So if you're serious about business, leadership, or just want to be successful, you're in the right place. So without further ado, I want to welcome to the Mastering Success podcast, the one, the only Cassius Butts. How are you?
Jeremy, thank you. I appreciate that, and just hearing that introduction, man. I got to put that in a bottle and put that on internet and get that sold, man. That's outstanding. That's exceptional.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let's jump right into it. Cassius, years ago, when I was probably 22 or 23 years old, I met you for the first time. You came in young, professional, clean-cut black man, and I'm of the persuasion that your dream is only as big as your exposure. And so when I saw you, you were an inspiration to me as a regional administrator. So how did you get to where you were? I'm sure that is a long backstory, but how did you get to where you are?
Jeremy, I appreciate the question. And first of all, thank you. Congratulate you for what you're doing and following your passion. And I like to start with just that. Really, I've always had this mindset, Jeremy, that I wanted to make a difference in somebody else's walk. I wanted to make a difference in the world that we live, work, and play in. I wanted to make a difference in our respective communities. I just didn't know how to do it.
Mhm.
The best way that I knew how to do it is to try to be in a place where I could help to foster relationships. And that's really by learning the art of business, the art of relationships, the art of networking, um, the art of mentoring,
Mhm.
and having mentorships in place. And so, um, you know, I try always put myself in a position where I'm helping someone else to follow their dreams and learn from them too. And so, being originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, finished high school in Orlando, Florida, went to a college at Morehouse College in Atlanta, where I am today, and continue on in graduate school at Clark Atlanta University. I've always tried to take advantage of my exposure. You talked about that in the past, and so for me, it was just putting myself in the right place, realizing that there was more to offer in someone else's journey, someone else's success other than mine, and it really just kind of being selfless, um, being in a place where you can support somebody else's dream. And I feel like relying on my faith, and betting on myself, when we talked about that previously,
Mhm.
was something that I'm continuing to do this day. And I feel like I still have a whole lot of many more mountains to climb and to achieve, but I feel like I've been very fortunate and blessed thus far.
Absolutely. I read your book. For everyone that is listening to this podcast, I encourage you to go out and check this book out. Go buy it. It's called Exceptional. This book was an amazing book. I'm a book reader and I read it in like 48 hours because I just couldn't put it down. So I encourage you to go and check out that book. Go purchase it. It will change your life for sure. So Cassius, when it came to your book, like what compelled you to even write a book and who was your target audience?
You know, for me, when I was thinking about writing a book, I've always been interested in, and like you, I read a lot of just trying to understand how things work. So I was one of those persons. I would read the back of, when they had them album covers to see who produced it, and I would read the lyrics and I would rewrite my own lyrics. And so I've always been someone who's been interested in learning more about how people think, and when people are successful, what does it take to be successful?
Yeah.
So I thought that, hey, through my travels, I often would hear people say, well, how do you do this? How do you get into that bubble that you're in? And I would say, listen, I didn't try to get into anyone's bubble. I just created my own. And I
Yeah.
wanted to show many other people how to create their own bubble, and really how to be in their own lane. And so it derived from an American psychologist called named Abraham Maslow, who came up with this thought process called self-actualization. And self-actualization, Jeremy, as you know, because you've read it, is
Hmm.
where you begin to realize that you are destined to do something in this particular world.
Hmm.
And a lot of people, they may not get to achieve self-actualization until they're much older.
Hmm.
Uh, and they'll look back on their life and say, well, I could have did this, I could have did that. But sometimes when you're a little bit less seasoned by age or years, you may come into a place where you say, I want to achieve that now.
Hmm.
And so for me, I focus a lot on trying to actualize my own journey. And in my book, there are 14 principles that I show people how to self-actualize. And it's open for seasoned professionals, early executives, entrepreneurs, those who are looking to just scale up, whether it's in business, whether it's in entertainment, whether it's in sports, etc. But anyone that's looking to really take their journey from here to there.
Yep.
So I feel pretty proud that I'd hope to open up a blueprint for other people to foster, and it's something that I wanted to do, just to make a difference in this world. As simple as it sounds, that's exactly what I just want to do, is leave that mark.
I mean, I believe that you definitely left an indelible mark on my life personally when I was reading through it because I was at a crossroad. I was trying to figure out what was the next juncture for me. And this book really pushed me out of the boat, if you will. You're a faith person, you read the Bible, it comes to my mind how Peter, he had the ability to walk on water, but he could not do it in the boat. And so this book really pushed me into identify what is your purpose, not just generally, but sometimes purpose can change according to seasons. So sometimes you fulfill your purpose in a season, and then the next season you have to identify, okay, what's next? And that brings me to another question that comes to my mind as a person such as yourself that has achieved so much. How do you stay hungry? How do you get to a place where it's just like, okay, I have achieved a lot, but there's more. So how does that work for you?
I was in a place in Atlanta some years ago, and had opportunity to meet then Jamie Foxx, and was asking something that he said, and most recently at that time when he won an Oscar, and said the question was asked, how did you continue to stay driven, having to achieve this award, this Oscar? And he said, well, I take the same mindset that my mentor, who was Denzel Washington, took. He said, and Denzel Washington said he took the same mindset that his mentor, who then Sidney Poitier, told him, is that you're always striving and searching for your best work.
Okay.
The best work has not been done. And I think part of the goal of success is knowing that the best has yet to been completed.
Hmm.
And as long as you have that mindset and knowing that you have that drive in place, um, you can always be driven. And for me, I'm always driven. I'm probably a little OCD, a little bit more of a perfectionist. But for me, I'm always looking for the right recipe for success. I'm always looking for the best route to get there, the most efficient way. And I'm always in pursuit of that, Jeremy. And I would often tell clients or loved ones or just friends or anyone who may ask a question like you just did, how do you do? And I say, just realize that your best work is yet to be done. It's always in creation mode. And as long as you go to that mindset of that parable, if you will, that life is not a destination, it's a journey,
Yep.
to begin to enjoy the journey, begin to endure and embrace the journey. And through the journey, the highs and the lows, you will find that there's always wisdom that you're going to accumulate, only to add to your arsenal or your library of responses and answers when people ask you questions. And so I believe that I'm always in pursuit of that. So I didn't mean to take the long way about
No,
answering
that's
that
good.
question, but I
That's
wanted to give you the details of it.
No, that's excellent. And I'm reminded that last year I was at a conference and someone said something along those lines is that your best message has not gotten out yet. I'm a preacher. They said, your best message, you haven't preached it yet. Your best book, you haven't put it out yet. And it reminded me that, we're going from one chapter to the next. We're going from faith to faith. And so as a result of that, there is more and there's better and there's greater. And, I'm a firm believer that God is not stagnant. And so what we've seen thus far, he wants to do so much more with us. And when I was
Yes.
reading through your book, faith is almost like it's weaved into the fabric of your book. And so
Yes.
can you talk about how faith has played a role in you getting to where you are?
Certainly, I'd have to credit my parents, my family. I come from a faith-driven family. Um, my grandmother was an evangelist in the Catholic Church. My uh, grandfather was a deacon in the church, the same church that my uncle Benjamin Franklin Powell preached, 59th Street Baptist Church,
Hmm.
where we would go to vacation Bible school every summer. We moved to Florida, and my mother, was a member of Tabernacle and Light and Church of God. And so we were in church every week and during Wednesdays, and sometimes it's like the days just collaborate together when we would go to church. And the
Hmm.
ironic thing is that my father, we were in the same household, but my father went to St. James. And so, funny quick story, I may have talked about this in a book. I think, during football season, Jeremy, we would say, my brother and I, we're going to church with daddy because, we was in and out like 45 minutes.
Hmm.
But when we went to church with mom, we'd be in there a good 3.5 hours, just easily. But I'm making light of fun and just saying I've always had religion always around us, realizing there's something greater in yourself that is in the world sometimes, and sometimes that you have to realize that greatness is not necessarily you as an individual.
Hmm.
It's the creator that has created these opportunities. And so you have to think about it. Greater is he that is in the world. That really is, I really embrace that. And so whenever I'm faced with adversity or challenges, I often think about that this is just, almost a book. This is the journey. And when we get to the end of that journey, I want to definitely say that there's a story to be told, there's a lesson to be learned. There are people that have been affected in a positive way that hopefully I played a role into. And all of that is underlined with a sense of humility, realizing that I'm here to receive and to be a vessel in somebody else's success. And so, in my chapter in the book, I talk about faith and how faith is in everything that I do. And a lot of times it's just practicing it over and over again. And as you can imagine, as I land the plane with your question that you asked, Jeremy, it doesn't mean that we become overbearing or fanatics that you hear other people talk about that, but it just means that it's a way of life.
Hmm.
And as long as you have that mindset that you're affecting someone else's journey, then that's what this whole thing about life is. Again, it's not a destination, it's just a journey.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think
Yeah.
that you said something really interesting when you talked about humility. Now, sometimes people get humility mixed up, and I want to hear from you because in your position, And what you have accomplished thus far, you could not have done it if you did not have a level of self-confidence.
Yes.
Sometimes people feel like, you know, the opposite of humility, is pride. Like you have to be to down yourself. So how do you bring it all together? You have to have a high level of confidence just to be able to accomplish what you have accomplished. So how is self-confident? How do you look at self-confidence, humility, and those types of things together?
Yes. And so, no, Jeremy, I think the mindset, I always have a mindset that very seldom do you have a second opportunity to make a first impression.
Hmm.
And so I think about the impression that I can make upon people, places, and things all the time. But in order to do that, I think that you have to first think of how is someone going to receive you?
Hmm.
What is it that they would like to see? What is it they would like to hear? What is it that they would like to smell? What is it that they would like to be encouraged by? What is it that they would like to be picked up? And if I have any of those things within me, I'm going to make sure that I walk with the mindset of saying that all those things, all those attributes that I just described, I will evaluate the situation. I will evaluate the person that I'm in front of. I would make an evaluation and an analysis of how to get the best out of them first. To me, that's humility. When
Hmm.
you're thinking about all the things that you have that you could be,
Hmm.
but you choose to think of them first. And so in my book, I often talk about, my book, Exceptional, being the exception to the rule. I talk about, I spend probably more time with servants than CEOs. I've spent a lot of time talking to those persons who are able to help to be a vessel for someone else's success. And I believe that I'm always often there to remind them that they are such pivotal people that can make differences. And we think about someone like the barber, a beauty shop. And my barber told me one time, Jeremy, he said, I'm getting my hair cut and I got going and I cut my own hair, but I would go to barbershop just for the dialogue a lot of times. And he said, man, I got to get you out of here because I know you got an interview to give. And man, I'm just here just to help you, man. I'm nobody. And I said, ho, ho, ho. I said, stop. I said, you cut the hair, the likes of everyone, from the mayor to Ambassador Young to this person, that person. I said, do you realize not one of us can go out to do what we do with the set of confidence until we sit and talk and see you first?
Hmm.
I said, think about it. We can't go out there to actually have the confidence to sit in front of people or to give even this sort of an interview, to engage with the audience and get comfortable and knowing that we're going to do and say the things that are going to make changes and hopefully in people's lives until we see you first.
Right.
So think about how important you are. He said, man, I never thought about that. I said, you have a skill set that most people do not even know how to manage or work. I said, think about it. That's your gift. That's your gift from the creator. He said, I never thought about that. And so for me, Jeremy, that's what I mean about the humility part again,
Hmm.
is when you're pouring into someone when they can't even see it themselves,
Right.
right? But you being confident enough to know what you're talking about because you've been there before, to give it to someone else that may not have had the same experiences that you may have had. That's how you intercede with humility and confidence. And then, of course, being a part of the greatest fraternity in the world, Kappa Alpha Psi, Fraternity Incorporated, which we know a little bit about that. That's
Yeah.
just, it's just how it happens. But, in all seriousness, we take pride. I think pride is just knowing that you've been raised right, you've been conditioned in a way that you are somebody. And for many of us, we have been fortunate and blessed to hear it as young children and to young adults and to young men. And hearing that over and over again is helpful. So again, part of even just having this type of dialogue, Jeremy, which I'm so glad that you're doing, is that you're pouring into other people that may need some pouring into, but they don't even realize it or have someone to do it for them.
Right. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the podcast. If you're listening to this and you are a business owner ready to scale, or a leader that wants executive training, or perhaps you are planning an event and you need a speaker that brings both the fire and the value to the stage, Let's talk. Whether that is one on one consulting, a powerful keynote speaker, or high impact training for you and your team, I have you covered. I've helped leaders to grow, teams to thrive, and businesses to scale greatly by way of training, funding, and government contracts. I look forward to talking to you soon. Let's get back to the podcast. And that's where I believe that one of the gifts that God has given me is similar to yours, is connecting people and not looking for anything in return as a result of it. I've been blessed to travel all across the United States, and people have called me and said, "Hey, I really appreciate you connecting me with this person. I never thought that I would meet them." I think that
Yeah.
that is a skill set, and it's a part of being a servant leader. And I think that that is something that you are, as a servant leader. When you look at leadership, you've been a leader at the highest level, and being in leadership, I'm sure you have studied some high level leaders, because most of the time as a leader, you want to be the best version of yourself. So when you look at leadership, what are
Mhm.
some characteristics that stick out to you that say, "Hey, that's a difference between a good leader and an exceptional leader"?
Yes, yes. There's a difference. I mean, I look at some of the favorable leadership characteristics such as courage, integrity, um, having transparency, um, having the ability to lead people, but by sometimes by example,
Hmm.
and not waiting for someone else to do, but you taking the initiative to do it. I also think that also failure. A good leader, as you know, Jeremy, is really not necessarily those who goes out and is able to jump in the front and just lead, and we are able to accomplish. But those that can sit back and say, "Hey, you know what? Maybe we didn't do this the right way," and
Hmm.
actually ask those who you're working with, "Hey, what do you think? What is your suggestion?" to get the buy-in of the folks in the team that you're leading. I have this also other mindset. I often believe that a captain is only as good as his or her crew.
Hmm.
So, you can be the one out there wearing the big hat with the charge, but you're only as good as your crew is going to be. So,
Hmm.
unless you have poured into your crew and they can help you at different times, it may be time for them to step up because you may have to step down. I asked someone asked me one time many years ago, um, when will I get promoted? I said, you know what, you'll get promoted, but you don't even have to ask.
Hmm.
It will happen. It will happen because you're following all the things that it takes to get to the next level. And so the only way to do it is I, as a leader, I have to lead by example. I have to do sometimes the hard and tough things. And also to continue to have humility, even when I may not get it right, but having the desire and also the drive to want to get it right. Because not only is it just for myself, but it's for the person that's looking at me about the decisions that I'm making.
Yeah, that's good. You spoke about courage. I mean, that's
Yeah.
something that a lot of times, if you were to ask that question to certain leaders, they would not maybe point that out. But I think it takes a lot of courage for to be the type of leader where you're willing to take the blame if things don't go the way that they're supposed to go. I think
Yeah.
good leaders also are willing to take the initiative to say, "Hey, we're going to go this route, and this is what it's going to be," and I'm willing to take the failure. I was reading a book called Good to Great, and it said exceptional leaders are actually those that they defer the success of the organization, but they take the accountability for the failures. So when people are trying to say, "Oh, man, this organization is going good," they often point back to the team and say, "Hey, it took a team to get here." So I think that that is an exceptional characteristic that you mentioned. And I'm putting these things in my notes because I want to be a
Mhm.
better leader. Um, what does success look like to you, in your opinion?
Wow. Success looks like to me when the project, the pursuit of achieving whatever goal is in place gets achieved by not just me.
Hmm.
Success means that I was in a position to help us as an entity, as an organization, for someone else to receive the spotlight. And the thing about it, Jeremy, is like when you hear me say these things, like you know me now. You know, I really believe that.
Hmm.
That's how I measure my success is when I see that we all have won.
Hmm.
You know, one of the bragging points that I took when I left the SBA is that at that time we had achieved over $30 billion in access to capital. At that time, one of the highest marks that um, any regional administrator has achieved in the history of SBA. And
Hmm.
whenever I would say these things in interviews, and I still say them when I have them these days, I often name all of the districts that were involved with it. I don't name myself. I say we. It wasn't
Hmm.
just me. Um, as a leader, if I did not have the Mississippi district office in place, we wouldn't achieve those numbers. If
Right.
I didn't have the Tennessee office or the North or South Carolina or the Florida or the Georgia or the Alabama office in place, we wouldn't achieve those numbers. Tennessee, the so on. So success to me looks like when we can all sit back and we can all fellowship and we can all enjoy the success of whatever project initiative that we are looking to go out and to accomplish, and we can tell stories about it, and you can write it down, and you can write it down for a blueprint for somebody else to follow. That to me truly is what success looks like.
Yeah, that's really good because a lot of people contribute success to a dollar amount. This is what you have within your bank account, or this is how many social media followers that you have. But I think that you articulated it so well what success really looks like. And I'm sure that there's going to be somebody that's listening to this podcast that could be a mother that has a son that is the young version of Cassius.
Yes.
So let's say that we have a quick snippet that we cut out for the young mother that wants her son to listen to Cassius Butts. He's eighth grade, getting ready to go into the ninth grade. What would you say to him when it comes to what you've learned over the years? What would you say to young Cassius?
What I probably would say, young Cassius, is, realizing that you can accomplish your goals, um, but you can accomplish your goals by, you know, evaluating everything that it takes to get to the next level. I wanted to be in high school so fast so I can play football, so I can, at that time I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to the NFL. I can, yeah, I'm gonna do all these things, but realizing that I had to learn to enjoy the journey.
Hmm.
I had to learn to enjoy just the practices that went in place. For me, looking back, what I tell my younger self, Jeremy, is almost like saying, just for me, I spend a lot of time making friends
Hmm.
and getting to know people from all walks of life. To me, that is probably one of my greatest accomplishments as a young child. Um, is doing just that. My mom used to always say, my dad said, Cassius never found a friend he didn't like. He's always found a stranger he didn't like. And it's true because I always just found someone like, hey, such gonna come on, you my friend now. And I would take him home and we'd be like, Mama, who's this? I'm like, oh, this is my friend Robert. I'm like, okay, Robert, where are your mom and dad? It's like, oh, they up the street. So do they know you here? Like, no, well, you call them. But I was always that person who would always just find friendships. And I think that's for me. I just realized that for me, I love learning and learning how other people think and what their lives were about, and I just like to absorb wisdom. So for me, I definitely would tell myself to continue to enjoy the journey, continue to enjoy the relationships, um, and better yet, I would tell my younger self continue to keep in touch because I
Hmm.
learned that as I got a little bit more seasoned, but I didn't keep in touch as much as I did with some of my younger friends. Some of it I didn't need to keep in touch with them. I'll be honest with you. They just need to go about their business. I went about mine. It was a great day. They made other decisions in life. But for me, I've always used my discernment not to become too close when I felt like it's probably not the best place for me.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. As a regional administrator, you have been very hands-on with helping entrepreneurs. I mean, you've
Yes.
helped them from small companies to a little bit larger companies, you name it. When you look at the countless companies that you've helped, um, what was some of the biggest mistakes that you see businesses make when it comes to growing their business or potentially scaling their business?
I would probably say that a lot of times people were so intrigued with trying to grow so fast that they would actually miss the mark of how they actually were acquiring and having success. And they missed out really recording how they actually became successful. Um, a lot of companies are looking for the quick fix.
Hmm.
And I get that. But I would encourage other people to be um, thoughtful about joint ventures, doing joint ventures, or doing um, putting yourself in a position to win. Um, I don't think we do that as often as we should,
Hmm.
as far as having joint ventures or having mentor protege relationships, learning from one another. And sometimes entities that has nothing to do with your entity, but you're able to put yourself in a position to learn from them and they can learn from you. We don't do that as often. Um, but I do believe that the exposure is probably something that we have to continue to encourage into our small businesses and entrepreneurs, is to continue to have exposure to other areas that you're not familiar with. That's the best way to learn, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Now it's been a few years since you were a regional administrator. Do you see any particular opportunities for entrepreneurs, maybe as compared to, when you were the regional administrator? Um, like
Yeah.
when people look at 2025 and beyond, you see any opportunities that people need to hone in on?
I would say definitely say, this is the time to look within your respective networks, to look beyond, look within your respective relationships. I'm sure many of us have 5 to 7 successful people or groups or organizations that we probably have not spent enough time with. So if what I see on the horizon is taking advantage of spending time with those people, those organizations, those groups, and really maximizing your dollar within those respective groups. Um, there's something to be said, Jeremy, where if I get 10 people together and we're all looking to, um, we're in the pursuit of success, and 10 people, we all decide to put, let's just say, $1,000 into a pot. Well, 10 people into that $1,000 is how much? I mean, you look at that right there, that's $10,000,
Hmm.
right? If you decide to put $2,000 within those 10 people, that's 20, and so on and so on. You really have the opportunity to create your own financial network within 10 people.
Hmm.
That maybe some person may need 2,500, somebody may need five, some people may need, seven. But in order to do that and to give back and keep pouring it in each month, then you continue to make sure that you're positioning yourself to be bankable when you do go to the financial institutions to take out a loan, because you've increased your credit score by making certain that you paid your bills. You've also positioned yourself to say you have past performance while working with other like-minded individuals and those who are not like you. So you're showing that you have the ability to work, you have past performances to work on other projects that you may not have worked in. And again, those two things, those two scenarios, those two situations just makes you more bankable, where you may need to go to get a larger loan. And so that's what I see, um, going into 2025, 2026, as for small businesses, groups, organizations, to look within inside themselves, within your own respective network. And again, it doesn't have to be 10, it could be five, it could be three,
Hmm.
it could be
Yep.
two, you know. But as long as you come together with that same goal in place, you have a goal to reach for. And I believe that you can do as long as you're committed and you're being driven by knowing what you would like to get out of that relationship.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
So I know you're a busy man, so we're gonna wrap up with these two final questions.
Yes.
One of the questions is how important is mentorship? You know, you didn't get to where you are by yourself. Sometimes people have mentors that help them for free, and then you have people that invest into their mentors or their coaches or a consultant. How important is that when it comes to reaching a goal of success within each person's personal life or in business?
Sure. To me, it's probably within the top three things that I try to put in my everyday walk, personally and professionally.
Mhm.
Having a favorable mentor is something that I needed to have in my life, and I have more than one. I have three. Um, there are more than three actually, but off the cuff, Dr. Lewis Lynn, who is wrote the introduction of my book, Exceptional Being the Exception to the Rule, someone who was a small business owner who heard me speak and we kept in touch. And he just said, "Hey, I'd love to support you as you continue to move professionally." And then he did. So I think the world of Dr. Lewis Lynn. He's a small business owner on a 30 plus year management construction company. He's a trustee at Clemson University. He's been a bank director of BB&T, and then going on to be a bank director at Truist. But he is someone who has faith at the beacon of everything that he does. Having a true mentor to pour into you just helps you out, Jeremy.
Mhm.
Sometimes when you're stuck and you're trying to figure out your next way to encourage someone. So think about it. When you have a mentor, and that doesn't have to be someone who's just way super well accomplished. A mentor to me could be that person, that security guard that's at the desk that says hello to you when you walk in every day, encourage you and say, "Hey, you look sharp today. You look good." Sometimes we need that pat on the back. To
Yeah.
me, that's a mentor,
Hmm.
right? They may not have had the same walk of you, but they still know how to encourage you. And so I would love for your listeners just to receive and understand that. And on the flip side of that is that I believe that you have to be a mentor to someone too,
Yes.
because pouring into someone else's walk, someone else's dream, someone else's desires to want to be successful means that you have to give that away as well too, just as though you received it. And so to me, it's almost at the forefront of everything that I do.
Phenomenal. Phenomenal. My last question that ask you is, success leaves clues. Success gives us oftentimes the blueprint for how to get to a certain destination. So, what does a day in the life of Cassius Butts look like?
Jeremy, it, it changes every day.
Hmm.
I would tell you it changes every day because I wear several different hats. As you know, um, have been fortunate to be an author, um, not just exceptional, being the exception to the rule, but I was a contributing author to Pursuit 365, which we actually won bestseller, which I'm very proud of that as well too. Um, but every day something is different. Um, I teach leadership and professional development at Morehouse College.
Hmm.
Um, I just enjoy doing it. I love being in a position to encourage those aspiring minds who are looking to say, "This is what I want to be in life. Now show me how to do it."
Hmm.
uh, to me, I'm very proud of that because my book is actually the required reading for the class. And we talk about each student's journey and what they're looking to do to scale to the next level. I serve as a senior executive vice president at Carver Financial Corporation. We own two minority banks. One is in Savannah, Georgia. The other is in Birmingham, Alabama. And, it's been around since 1921. And so, in my role there as executive vice president, I serve as in a role for innovative finance and strategic partnerships. Again, I'm following my passion, the things that I enjoy doing.
Hmm.
And I still own Capital 42 Business Advisors, where it's more of a platform where I'm helping to give these type of conversations. I spoke recently at Colgate Palmolive, did a keynote speech there. And again, encouraging others who are looking to scale, who are looking to find their own passion, their own way. And so a day for me, Jeremy, depends on the day of the week.
Yep. Yep.
Um, uh, to me, I just find ways of either serving on boards, as have I done in the state of Georgia, whether it's chairman of Fort McPherson or the Board of Economic Development, Board of Tourism. I'm just always like this, Jeremy. It's so funny you asked that question. I'm always thinking just like I was a kid. I'm always looking to accomplish, and I feel as though life is short. We don't have a lot of time to, kind of just scoot around. And I want to take advantage of every opportunity where I'm either giving to those who've helped me to achieve some sort of success in this life and to give back. So if I could say something really, really quick, Jeremy, because I
Yeah,
was
I'd love to.
thinking
Yep.
about it. Um, I was asked this question some time ago, um, and I remember it happened many years ago. They were asking what was one of the things that I missed about being in appointed roles, particularly on the federal side. And I said one of my greatest memories of being regional administrator for SBA. Now, keep in mind, I've served as a presidential management fellow in the Bush administration at HUD. I served at SBA, as you know, um, served Biden-Harris administration as a um, nonpartisan role as the co-leader for General Services Administration Acquisition Policy Committee. But um, one of my greatest memories is going to Mississippi.
Mhm.
Um, at that time, the president was not able to come to Mississippi, and I was asked to go there to receive this award at Coahoma Community College.
Mhm.
And I came to Coahoma Community College, and when they just had it rolled out for me there. I mean, they had a choir, they had the band, they had the food, and they just said, "We're grateful because you all never forgot about us."
Mhm.
And to me, that has always stuck with me. And it continued to remind me that no matter how busy we get, how um, much we're faced with adversity, particularly these days, that you can never forget about that person, that group, that individual, that organization that's looking to achieve a certain level of success. And the only way that they can do is with your help.
Mhm.
And so to me, I have a journey today that I spend a lot of time where I put the spotlight on the person, group, or entity that needs a spotlight.
Mhm.
And I feel good about doing that every single day. And I feel like that's my part of my mission in life. And I enjoy it. And I hope to continue to be around to keep doing that and shining and shedding the spotlight. I continue to see you grow. I'm so proud of you for what you're doing. And again, I met you when you were just breaking out of your teenage years into your 20s, and here you
Yep.
are
Mhm.
with your own media show. And so I'm so proud to be in a place to give back and be a part of you, Jeremy. You're encouraging so many people, and I thank you for. I just thank you for having me here today.
Yeah, man, it's been a phenomenal conversation. I certainly have gleaned a lot. I know that I feel like my purpose is to use my connections, my voice to really help people, and that's what I want to do. And this conversation is going to help some people for sure, young and old. And so I appreciate you coming on to the podcast. I'm sure people are gonna want to know how to do I connect with Cassius Butts. How do people connect with you?
Several different ways you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Cassius at Butts. You can follow me on Instagram, Cassius at Butts again. Those are probably the two best ways to keep up and to follow me, or go to my website, cassiusbutts.com.
Hmm.
And I'm always in a place where I'm trying to update information about what's going on in my everyday walk. And as you already know, Jeremy, trying to get back, right?
Yep.
Trying to be an example that I would love to see myself. So if you reach out to me, I'm usually good at reaching back.
That's excellent. So we're going to wrap this up. I certainly appreciate you, Cassius, for coming on to my podcast, Mastering Success. And for those that want to connect with Cassius, he just mentioned how to connect with him. I'll drop some links in the description so that you can connect with both of us. And we are looking forward to having more powerful conversations like this, people that are at the highest level of what they do. So thank you again for joining our podcast, and we will see you in the next one.